From a single piece of pork belly and a cup of sticky rice, you get a sealed survival pyramid that turns into a complete hot meal in under 5 minutes. Chinese village families have been making these for over 2,000 years, long before refrigerators, long before canning, long before anyone in the West even thought about food preservation. Just 5 ingredients, one pyramid, one full meal, ready whenever you need it. I'm Amelia, and today I'm rebuilding this recipe from the ground up. But stay until the end, because there is one wrapping secret that determines whether your pyramid lasts 2 years in the freezer or falls apart in 2 days. Miss this step and everything you just cooked is wasted. So what exactly is this pyramid? In rural Chinese villages, families made something called zongzi, a dense, tightly wrapped package of glutinous rice and seasoned meat folded inside natural bamboo leaves and tied shut with hemp string. The shape is a pyramid, a perfect tetrahedron, and that shape is not decorative, it is structural. A pyramid distributes internal pressure evenly across all four faces. When steam builds during the cooking process, no single wall takes more force than any other. That is why these parcels survive hours of boiling without bursting open. The shape itself is engineering. Rural families across southern China understood this more than 2,000 years ago during the spring and autumn period, roughly 770 to 476 BC. They did not have vacuum sealers, they did not have aluminum foil. What they had were bamboo groves, rice paddies, and pigs. And from those three things, they built a food storage system that worked across dynasties, famines, and wars. Let me walk you through exactly how to recreate this at home using the same logic those village families used, adapted for a modern kitchen. I'm starting with the leaves. You need dried bamboo leaves, and they must be soaked overnight in cold water, at least 8 hours. This is not optional. Dry bamboo leaves are brittle. They will crack the moment you try to fold them, and a cracked leaf means a broken seal. Soaking does two things. First, it restores flexibility so the leaf bends without splitting. Second, and this is the part most people miss, it activates the natural compounds inside the leaf itself. Bamboo leaves contain bioactive compounds including flavonoids, anthraquinones, and essential oils like cedral and hexadecanoic acid. These compounds have documented antimicrobial properties. They inhibit the growth of common foodborne bacteria, including E. coli and Staphylococcus aureus. This is not folklore. Research from multiple institutions has confirmed that bamboo leaf extracts show strong antibacterial activity, particularly against gram-positive bacteria. The leaf is not just a wrapper, it is the first layer of preservation. Chinese villagers did not know the chemistry, but they absolutely knew the result. Food wrapped in bamboo leaves lasted longer than food wrapped in cloth or stored in open crocks. That is why bamboo became the standard, and it has stayed the standard for over 2 millennia. While the leaves soak, I'm preparing the rice. 2 cups of glutinous rice, also called sticky rice or sweet rice. This goes into a separate bowl, also covered with cold water, also soaked overnight. Glutinous rice behaves completely differently from regular long-grain rice. It contains almost no amylose, the starch molecule that keeps regular rice grains separate and fluffy. Instead, it is almost entirely amylopectin, a branched starch that becomes extremely sticky and cohesive when cooked. That stickiness is the entire point. When the rice cooks inside the sealed pyramid, the amylopectin bonds the grains into a dense, unified mass that locks around the filling. It becomes a matrix. The meat, the mushrooms, the seasonings, everything gets trapped inside a wall of compressed, sticky rice. This is what gives zongzi their extraordinary density and why a single pyramid the size of your fist can deliver over 350 calories. 1 cup of cooked glutinous rice alone provides approximately 169 calories and 37 grams of carbohydrates. That is pure sustained energy, the kind of slow-burning fuel that kept farming families working 12-hour days in the paddies. Now, the filling. I'm taking about 1 pound of pork belly and cutting it into chunks roughly 1 inch by 2 inches. Pork belly is not optional here. Do not substitute lean pork loin or chicken breast. Pork belly carries roughly 53 grams of fat per 100 grams. That fat is not excess. It is the engine of this entire recipe. During the long boiling process, that fat renders slowly and saturates every grain of rice around it. The rice absorbs the rendered fat and becomes calorie-dense, flavorful, and moisture-resistant. Fat also acts as a natural oxygen barrier inside the sealed pyramid. When the rendered pork fat coats the interior surfaces, it creates a hydrophobic layer that slows oxidation. That is the same principle behind confit, the French technique of preserving meat submerged in its own fat. Chinese village families arrived at the same solution independently thousands of years earlier, using a bamboo leaf instead of a ceramic crock. I'm marinating the pork belly now. Into a bowl with the meat, I'm adding 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of dark soy sauce for color, 1 tablespoon of Shaoxing cooking wine, half a teaspoon of 5-spice powder, a quarter teaspoon of white pepper, and a pinch of sugar. This marinates in the refrigerator overnight alongside the soaking rice and leaves. Everything rests together. 3 ingredients, all preparing simultaneously. That is how village families did it. The night before cooking day was preparation night. By morning, every component was ready. Tell me in the comments right now, have you ever cooked with bamboo leaves before? I'm genuinely curious how many of you have tried this. Now the mushrooms. I'm taking 4 dried shiitake mushrooms and soaking them in warm water for about 30 minutes until they are soft and pliable. Dried shiitakes are a nutritional powerhouse that most Western kitchens completely overlook. Per 100 grams dried, they deliver roughly 70% of your daily zinc, 84% of your daily selenium, and exceptionally high levels of B vitamins, especially B5 and niacin. But their real superpower in this recipe is glutamate. Shiitake mushrooms contain some of the highest natural concentrations of glutamic acid found in any whole food. Glutamic acid is the compound responsible for umami, that deep, savory, almost meaty flavor that makes a broth taste like it has been simmering for hours. In Chinese villages, dried mushrooms were called earth meat. Families who could not afford to put much pork in their pyramids stretched the flavor by adding mushrooms. A few slices of shiitake made a small amount of pork taste like a feast. Once the mushrooms are soft, I'm slicing them into thin strips and reserving the soaking liquid. That liquid is concentrated mushroom broth. Do not throw it away, we are going to use it. Next, I'm preparing a small handful of raw peanuts and about a quarter cup of dried mung beans that have been soaked for at least 4 hours. The mung beans serve a specific structural purpose inside the pyramid. They cook down into a soft, starchy layer that fills the gaps between the rice and the meat. This eliminates air pockets. Air pockets inside a sealed pyramid are a problem because air holds moisture and creates microenvironments where bacteria can establish. The mung beans fill those gaps, and as they break down, they form an almost paste-like barrier that adds another layer of density to the finished product. The peanuts add fat, protein, and a textural contrast that keeps the eating experience interesting across every bite. One pyramid is a complete macronutrient profile: carbohydrates from the rice, fat and protein from the pork, additional protein and micronutrients from the mushrooms, beans, and peanuts. This is a full meal compressed into a package that fits in the palm of your hand. Now comes assembly, and this is where most people fail. I'm taking 2 soaked bamboo leaves and laying them on the counter, overlapping them slightly in a cross pattern. I fold the center into a cone shape like a funnel, making sure the bottom point is completely sealed with no gaps. Even a tiny gap at the base will let rice leak out during boiling and compromise the seal. Into the cone goes a spoonful of the soaked glutinous rice, just enough to cover the bottom. Then a generous piece of marinated pork belly, a few slices of shiitake mushrooms, some mung beans, a couple of peanuts, then more rice on top, pressing it down firmly so there are no air pockets. I do not fill the pyramid to the absolute rim. I leave about ½ inch of space at the top. This is breathing room. During boiling, the rice will expand as it absorbs liquid and fat. If you pack it too tight, the pressure will split the leaf, and a split leaf means a broken seal. Now the fold. This is the critical moment. I take the two sides of the leaves and fold them firmly over the top of the rice, creating a flat surface that locks the filling inside. Then I wrap the excess leaf material around the body of the pyramid, tucking it tight against each face. The final shape should have 4 distinct faces, 4 clean edges, no exposed rice anywhere. I tie it shut with kitchen twine, wrapping around the body twice in each direction. I pull tight. The string is not decoration, it is structural compression. It keeps the leaves pressed against the rice during the entire cooking process, maintaining that critical seal between the antimicrobial leaf surface and the food inside. If you are finding this useful, hit that like button right now. More people need to know about this technique, and the algorithm only shows it if you engage. Into the pot. I'm placing the wrapped pyramids in a large stock pot. I add enough water to cover them completely, plus at least 2 inches above. I place a heavy plate on top to keep them submerged. This matters. Any pyramid that floats above the waterline will cook unevenly. The top will be undercooked while the bottom is done. Submerge everything. Bring the water to a strong boil, then reduce to a steady simmer. The cooking time is 2.5 to 3 hours. That sounds like a lot, but here is what is happening during those 3 hours. The glutinous rice is absorbing the pork fat, the mushroom broth, and the soy-based marinade. The mung beans are breaking down into a starchy paste that fills every remaining air pocket. The pork belly is slowly rendering, its collagen converting into gelatin that binds the entire mass together. And the bamboo leaves are continuously releasing their antimicrobial compounds into the surface layer of the rice. After 3 hours of sustained heat, you do not just have a cooked meal, you have a self-contained, naturally preserved food block. I pull one out of the pot. The leaves have turned a deep olive green. The twine is tight. The pyramid holds its shape perfectly. No leaks, no cracks, no exposed rice. I let it cool on a wire rack for 30 minutes. Now cut the string, unwrap the leaves. Look at that. The rice has turned a rich amber color from the soy sauce and rendered pork fat. The grains are fused together into a solid, dense mass. I can hold it in my hand and it does not break. The pork belly is meltingly tender, falling apart at the touch of a fork. The mushroom slices are dark and glossy, soaked through with flavor. The mung beans have disappeared into the rice, creating a uniform texture with no air gaps. The aroma is extraordinary, smoky, savory, with that deep umami character that only comes from slow-cooked pork and dried mushrooms together. This is not a snack. This is a full survival meal that weighs about 8 to 10 ounces and delivers roughly 350 to 500 calories depending on how much pork you pack in, along with animal protein, natural fats, complex carbohydrates, B vitamins, zinc, selenium, and iron. And now, the storage secret I promised at the beginning. This is the step that separates a pyramid that lasts 2 days from one that lasts 2 years. After the cooked pyramids cool completely to room temperature, I leave the bamboo leaves on. Do not unwrap them. The leaves are your first barrier, your natural antimicrobial shield. Over the wrapped pyramid, I place a layer of plastic wrap, pressing it tight against every surface, squeezing out all air. Air is the enemy of long-term freezer storage. Where there is air, there is moisture. Where there is moisture, there is freezer burn, and freezer burn destroys texture, flavor, and nutritional value. Over the plastic wrap, I add a layer of aluminum foil, sealed tight with no gaps. The foil serves as a barrier against external freezer odors and provides an additional moisture block. This is 3 layers of protection: bamboo leaf, plastic wrap, aluminum foil. Each one handles a different threat. The leaf fights bacteria. The plastic blocks air. The foil blocks odor and light. Together, they create a sealed environment where the pyramid can sit frozen at 0 degrees Fahrenheit or below for up to 2 years without meaningful degradation in flavor, texture, or nutritional content. This is the exact same multi-layer preservation logic that the competitor survival kitchen recipes use with foil and parchment. But the bamboo leaf adds a biological preservation layer that no Western wrapping material can replicate. I'm making 12 pyramids from this single batch. That is 12 complete hot meals from about $5 worth of ingredients. The math is brutal in the best possible way. Each pyramid costs roughly 40 to 50 cents to produce. Each one is a self-contained dinner that requires nothing more than a pot of boiling water or a microwave to serve. Now, the moment of truth. I'm pulling a pyramid out of the freezer that I made 2 weeks ago using this exact method. I place it in a pot of boiling water, still fully wrapped in all 3 layers, 10 minutes of gentle boiling. I pull it out, strip the foil, strip the plastic, and unwrap the bamboo leaf. The rice is glistening. The pork fat has re-rendered, coating every grain. The color is identical to the fresh batch I made today, that same deep amber. The smell fills the entire kitchen, rich and savory and warm. I take a bite. The rice is tender and sticky. The pork belly melts on the tongue. The mushrooms are concentrated and intensely flavorful. If you put this next to a freshly made pyramid, you would struggle to tell the difference. This is the power of this technique. Cook once, eat for months or even years. No electricity beyond a freezer. No special equipment, no chemicals. Just bamboo, rice, pork, and knowledge that has survived for more than 2,000 years. Think about what this means for your household. In one Sunday afternoon, using the same batch method I just demonstrated, you can produce 20 to 25 pyramids. That is 25 full meals sitting in your freezer, each one ready in 10 minutes. A family of 4 eats through that in about a week of dinners, but the point is not daily eating. The point is preparedness. When supply chains break, when grocery shelves thin out, when your budget gets squeezed, those 25 pyramids are sitting there waiting. Dense, nutritious, delicious, and paid for in advance at 50 cents each. Chinese village families understood something that we have spent a century trying to forget. The best survival food is not freeze-dried, vacuum-packed, or manufactured in a factory. The best survival food is made in your kitchen with your hands using ingredients your great-grandparents would recognize: bamboo leaves that fight bacteria, sticky rice that binds like cement, pork fat that seals out oxygen, mushrooms that multiply flavor with almost zero cost. Layer those 4 things together in a pyramid that has been engineered by 20 centuries of trial and error, and you have something that no modern MRE can touch for taste, nutrition, or cost. Write in the comments below, what is the longest you have ever stored food at home, and what method did you use? I read every comment, and I'm building future episodes around your questions. If this video was useful, subscribe and hit the bell. I'm posting new survival kitchen techniques every week, all of them based on real historical methods, no gimmicks, no doomsday hype, just real food that works. I will see you in the next one.